Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to today's episode of Brave Talk. Today we have another very exciting project for you, and this project is called Speakeasy. And from the Speakeasy team, I have the owner, and his name is Kirk. Good evening, Kirk. How are you doing? Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey, Phil, great to meet you and to get a chance to talk with you and members of Brave Lounge and Brave Talk. I'm really excited about sharing Speakeasy with you today.
Perfect, Kirk. We had some conversation before, but maybe let's jump a bit in what you do out or what brought you to the crypto world. How long are you already a member of the Web3 family? How did you fall into the rabbit hole?
Sure, no problem. I probably, my story of how I got into DeFi is probably pretty similar to most of the people listening. I started out just trying to understand what crypto was, and I got a Coinbase wallet and started buying, just blue chip cryptos, and thought it was pretty cool and did that for a while. And then I was heard about this thing called DeFi in the crypto space, and I thought, what is this? So I started to investigate the DeFi space within crypto, and I really found that that it really resonated with me. That I really liked what the principles were, at least aspiring to, and I thought, wow, this could be something really important for the world, really. And so I started investigating, and I kind of went through the same pitfalls that most people do when they get started. I really didn't understand exactly everything I was doing, and so I lost some money early on and got one or two rugs under my belt, and so learned the hard way that way, as most of us do. But I was fortunate enough to very early on in the process, a little over a year ago now, to come across a project called EMP.money, or EMP as most people call it. Not sure if you or anybody in the audience is familiar with this project, but it is on the Binance Smart Chain, and it is a seniorage project. And the minute I found it, it was different than anything else I had seen. It wasn't just a daily ROI contract kind of a thing where if you got in early, you could do well on the backs of other people. It was really more of an economic system. And I really, really resonated with that and liked it a lot. So I started to get involved in the community. Back then, AJ Brockman, who's the team lead at EMP, was hosting daily AMAs. So I started listening to those every day and increasing my education about all kinds of different things. And then I got brave enough to start asking questions in the AMAs and started to, make friends within that community. And the first thing that sort of led me to where I am now is I decided, because of my background, I'm fairly technologically savvy. And I decided I wanted to create a YouTube channel, which I had never done before, but I thought it would be helpful to create some tutorial videos to help other people that were coming into EMP understand some of the things about it. Like, for instance, when you buy on Coinbase, you're just buying a token or what have you. But with this type of project, there were LP pairs, and I had no idea what that was when I first started. And how do you make an LP pair? And what's pancake swap? And, all these kinds of things that I had to learn kind of the hard way on my own. I thought, well, I can make some videos and help people out. So I did. And that became pretty popular. Got a lot of views, a lot of people really appreciative of the effort. And so I sort of then took that channel and for a while branched it out. I decided to do a weekly kind of 5-minute news show called DeFi Debrief, which was a news show mostly about EMP, but also about DeFi in general, that came out once a week on Mondays. So I did that and did some other things, and it became fairly popular. In the meantime, I was still becoming more and more involved in EMP, became a part of their army, which is a group of about 25 or 30 people who are doing a lot of the work behind the scenes, keeping everything going. So I got involved with that. And then finally, AJ approached me and asked me if I would be interested in creating a learning academy for EMP, since it's rather complicated. And they had one that they started with, but it was out of date and not quite big. And that's right in my wheelhouse in terms of what I do for a living in the real world. So I said yes. And so I created the EMP Academy, which still runs today. I still run that for EMP. There's about 1,200 people in it currently. About another couple thousand have gone through it. So if you happen to have gone through the EMP Academy, you might already go, this guy's voice sounds familiar, because there's a couple of hours of me talking about EMP on inside of that academy. And so that got me very deeply involved, of course, into DeFi, not only just EMP, but that as well. So that's kind of how I started my education, and I'm happy and proud to say that I consider AJ Brockman, a mentor of mine, and he's really been extremely helpful in teaching me a lot of other things about it. So from there, I'm doing all of this, and last summer, sometime in late summer, I came across a project called Frost Flakes, which some of you may be familiar with, and it was on a daily ROI app, and but it had some interesting mechanics in it that I thought were really great, and that was that Jack, the developer of that project, was taking half of the money out of the treasury that was coming in and investing it into PCS farms and into some bots that he had in order to try to externally generate revenues to bring back to the protocol to make the contract last longer. And I thought that was, while not completely unique, pretty innovative. And so I reached out to Jack privately, and my initial idea was that I was trying to talk him into investing some of the treasury money in Frost Flakes into EMP, because I thought it would be a very good investment for them and very safe. And so that's how we struck up a friendship. And even though he didn't end up doing that because he was committed to the strategy he already had, it created a friendship between the two of us. And I kept talking to him over time. The Frost Flakes project ended up lasting about 7 months, which is really a long time for a project like that. And the vast majority of people were really pleased with their involvement in it. And as it was winding down, I had been thinking about it and thinking about EMP and other things. And I just thought, I think I can take this to the next level. And so I reached out again to Jack and I said, hey, here's my idea of what I'd like to do for a project that sort of builds off of your idea, but goes in kind of a completely different direction. And would you be interested in developing the contract for me for that? And he said yes. So starting in about November of last year, we started working together to develop the contract. And I think it's probably fair to say at this point, soft fork of Frost Flakes is probably as far as I'd be willing to go. There's so much different about it now. But some of the initial concepts are the same. And yeah.
I really don't want to interrupt you because it feels like pure passion that comes out of you right now, and I really enjoy the story.
No problem.
It shows once again that, like, one of my favorite sayings is, your network is your net worth. And if you have peace, then you will never be poor. And this is something very beautiful and very unique about DeFi, in my opinion, that people with dreams, they find each other so easily. They connect and they start building together. But it's just me wanting to add something to your story, because it really caught me. It reminded me of my days when I joined DeFi and I was overwhelmed by the tech and how things are going and what's a liquidity pair, or just like you said it, what's a market cap or stuff like this.
Right, exactly.
And also on your educational side, like, I have a background in the offline education world. I left that job some time ago, but it was a good time and I enjoyed it a lot. And investment in knowledge is one of the best investments that you can make. And if you build like a learning platform for a project, That's impressive. That's cool stuff. I like stuff like
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't obviously agree with what you're saying more. I think that, I've been fortunate in in finding EMP to start with, but then also doing this and making some other friends in the crypto space that have really made all of this possible. I had no idea that I would be doing this. This wasn't my initial goal to run a project. But that's just how it worked out. And I'm very happy that it did. And the other thing that I really like about it is that, there's so much out there negative in the space with projects rugging and all those kinds of things that, it just makes me very happy to be able to, provide a project for people to take a look at and potentially invest in that, obviously not a financial advisor, no promises or guarantees, all of those standard disclaimers, but you're not going to get rugged in this project. That I can guarantee. So if you like the project and want to be involved with it, it's gonna succeed or fail on its own merits and on the merits of the community that is involved with it. It is not going to fail based on anyone stealing your money. So I'm happy to be able to confidently say that. I have my own personal integrity on the line as well as my relationships, which I would never want to sully, by doing anything negative in that way. So, it's been really a fun process so far. We launched the project on March the 4th, so we're a little older than a month now. And so far, we can talk about all the mechanics and stuff coming up next, but so far everything has gone pretty much exactly the way I had hoped it would go. And we're just working hard in the background to try to make this project as sustainable as possible. That is the goal with this. First goal number one was we're not going to rug anybody. So we already achieved that. The second goal is now a sustainability. We want to take a contract like this, an ROI type of contract, and we put in every mechanic I can think of to make it sustain. And we'll talk about all of those things as we go through this. And how long will it last? I don't know. But I think it has the potential to last for a very long time. And, a lot of that has to do with things that are out of my hands, but we have put the mechanics in, I believe, that take away some of the things that have traditionally happened to other ROI type contracts that become their downfall. So it'll be interesting to see over time how this performs.
Absolutely. What I really like the honesty that you bring with you to this AMA because you gave the disclaimer. This is actually my job. So everybody in here, imagine my voice saying, this is not financial advice and always do your own research. But today I had a helper. And also the way you talk about the project is to me, it's very appealing. I like people that came from the space, that make friendships in the space, and that put their name on the line as a dev, as a project owner, and just want to make it work. They don't care left or right, money or liquidity, whatever. They just want to make their idea work. This is the vibes that I'm getting from you right now. So congratulations, first of all, on the approach. And yeah, I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I really want to learn about your project. So let's play a little game. You said you did a YouTube channel. You did an academy for somebody. So on YouTube there are videos that are called like something like Bitcoin explained, like if you were five. What
Uh-huh.
would you think if we hop into the project introduction, if you explain your project to us like if we were five, as easy as possible, so that everybody has a basic concept, and then we dig deeper and we go into the details.
Sounds good. I will give it my best shot. And if you feel like I'm getting, into 6, 7, 8, or 10-year-old range, just pull me back and go, wait a minute.
We were back in the kindergarten now, so we don't have to do it. But I really want people to understand what we're talking of here. And sometimes projects are very tech heavy. Sometimes
Sure.
projects are very complicated, and that's why I like this approach of an open conversation, digging into it one after another, so we can get everybody in the boat and everybody understands where we are at, where we are at currently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that, our project has a huge dependency on NFTs, which is something that not everybody has experience with. And also some of their experience that they have had can not be the most positive, because there have been a lot of NFTs, particularly in the past, that had no utility to them. But we're dealing with NFTs in a way that provides utility. But still, people are unfamiliar. And so we'll go through that step by step here, and I will try my best to approach it with the assignment in mind. So let's go ahead and first take a look at. I've got a little slide deck here that I can talk to, and so the first slide that's coming up is basically just the Speakeasy protocol at 35,000 feet, if you will, looking down. So let's talk about just the very basics of how the project mechanic works. The first thing you would want to know is, and this is a very important thing, and we'll come back to it several times, is there is no native token in Speakeasy. Speakeasy runs on BNB in and BNB out. And this is very important because one of the first things that I knew I wanted to do was something like this, because a lot of the problems for both protocols as well as investors into protocols comes trying to artificially support a native token that doesn't have any inherent value outside of its own ecosystem. That's very hard to do. And so I didn't want to have to focus on that along with everything else that I wanted to try to do with the project. So this is BNB in, BNB out. So you know that you have the inherent value of BNB and also its price appreciation potential going into the project. So that's the first thing to know. The second thing to know is what is happening with the money that you deposit into the Speakeasy contract is this. 50% of it is locked into the primary contract, which we call the pot. And the pot's only job is to pay rewards back to the members. The other 50% of what you deposit in BNB goes to a second contract we call the bank. And the bank's job is to invest those assets into outside revenue generators to bring those rewards back and put them back into the pot to pay additional rewards to members. So that is one of two. We have two external revenue sources that we rely on in order to create sustainability, right? That's what I said the goal was. For those of you who have ever taken part in a ROI contract, which is probably everybody, you know that one of the biggest problems with them is that they are basically relying upon new investment to pay off the more mature people who have been in the project longer. And at some point in time, yeah, go ahead.
May I just jump in for a second? Because
Of course.
if you speak of ROI contracts, do you speak of contracts like they have been pretty famous in the past? And I know that this word might not be the best description for it, but are we talking about minor contracts?
Yes, in some degree. We're talking about contracts where you deposit money into them, and that money is locked, generally speaking,
Yes.
Creating a TVL for you, and that then you are earning token off of that by usually hyper compounding.
Yes, absolutely. I understand. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to shoot this in as a side note because I think that a lot of people, especially in the BSC space, they just call it minor contracts. At least that's how a lot
Sure.
of my friends call them.
Yeah.
And so we're still on the same page, but I think ROI contract is a better word, to be honest, because after all, there is no mining involved in all of these miners.
Right. And you're hoping for a return on the investment ROI. And you don't get your principal back. The success is the first ROI, meaning get your investment back, and then anything you earn beyond that is your profit. So when I say ROI, that's what I mean. Miners work the same way, basically. So great, thank you. So we have these two external revenue sources because of the way miner/ROI contracts work. Most of them are dependent upon a consistent stream of new investment in order for them to survive. That's the air that they breathe. And as soon as the project doesn't have as much glamour on it, it's gotten a little bit old, sometimes not even that long, and people stop investing, then it starts to create a panic. And then if you have your own native token along with that, then the value of that starts to decrease, which causes people to sell, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the general format of those types of contracts. So the main thing you can do to make those types of contracts better is what Jack first started with Frost Flakes, like I said, is to take some of the money that's invested and try to earn more with it outside of the ecosystem. And so, but we're doing that on steroids compared to what the Frost Flakes project was doing, but we're doing it. It's the same thing. So we are investing currently in two projects primarily on the outside. The first one, obviously, is EMP, because that's the contract I know, that is the contract I feel comfortable with. And so that is our primary investment vehicle outside in terms of another protocol. However, we have also now built up a rather substantial investment in the EMP, or in the Elephant Money protocol as well. We'll go into some specifics in a little bit. We have a few small investments in a few other things, like we just did an investment into Wolf Capital, if anybody's familiar, but these are small. The main engine for us in the bank is going into EMP and Elephant, primarily EMP. Now, that is a great, yeah, go ahead.
Kirk, if you say investments, are these all revenue generating or like ROI generating protocols that you invest in, or do you also invest in, let's say, a token project that you think that could perform well in the future to sell off a gain on the chart, or are these all kind of like these passive income projects where you deposit money and you get a regular income from that money?
Yeah, the vast majority of what we are doing is investing in farms that are fully liquid, so that we are not locking up the treasury assets that we're taking in. In some cases, we've done that, but usually a very small, and I'll go through the exact mix of what we're doing. But the answer to your question is we are mostly, in both cases, in EMP's case as well as Elephant's case, the vast majority of the funds we have invested in those projects are in fully liquid farms. And we're taking the reward token that we're earning and bringing that back into the protocol, and hopefully not touching the principal for as long as possible.
Nice.
So,
I like that.
Yeah, it's been really great so far.
I just had that question because when you were talking about the bank investing in other projects, I had like two projects in the past on this stage here that were investing in other cryptocurrencies, whatever. Doesn't matter if you're small, but their concept is really different from yours. And this makes me very excited because your system eliminates one thing that I always had in mind when I was thinking about these projects. They have to sell at some point. And to determine that everybody knows, like we're all traders. Sometimes you make a good trade, sometimes you make a bad trade. If it's your money, it doesn't matter. But if it's basically investor money, then it gets a little bit trickier. And your system eliminates this point of selling to get the profit out of the project and to bring it to your own project again. So a very good play on that one.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. So far, so good with this. The exciting thing, though, too, is that this is not our primary way of generating revenues outside of the protocol. It's a very important one, but the primary way that we actually do that is through the sale of NFTs that you use within our ecosystem. And let me explain that part of it now. I'm going to go to a different slide. So basically what we have using the speakeasy or bar type of concept here is the first thing you need to know is if you come into Speakeasy, you can invest in the Speakeasy contract and not purchase any NFTs. If you do that, you're what we call a guest rather than a member. And there's a fixed 0.25% daily return on what you put into the contract. You can't get that any higher. It doesn't go any lower either. But that is what we call a guest, is someone who doesn't opt into any of our NFTs. At this point, we have 0 guests. No one has took us up on that particular thing, but that's good. That's a good sign. People understand the value of these NFTs within our ecosystem. So we haven't had anybody do this, but we're going to leave this here just in case somebody might want to go that way. So the first level of NFTs that we offer are what we call our membership key cards, our membership NFTs. There are 2 types, as you see here. One's the silver and one is the gold. And what these do is turn you from a guest into what we call a Speakeasy member. They also boost the daily APR that you're getting. In the case of the silver, if you purchase that, your daily boost goes from 0.25 as a guest, doubles it to 0.50. If you go for the gold version, it's a 0.50% boost. So your daily is now 0.75 instead of the 0.25 as a guest. So the 2 are different. They want the gold, silver boosts a little bit less. It's also less expensive. And the gold boosts a little bit more, and it is a little more expensive. So we have those 2 memberships. Now you can get a membership and that's it. You can stop right there. You can pick one of those 2 and say, I'm happy with 0.75 daily. I'm going to buy a gold, and that is all. That's as far as I want to go, or that's as far as I want to go right now. That's fine. But you have to buy one of these 2 to get those boosted APRs and to have the ability to do the second level of NFTs that we sell. You have to have a membership NFT in order to buy what we call our cocktail NFTs. And these are just like the membership ones in the sense that all they're doing is providing boosted APR percentages. And that is the utility of these NFTs. So if we look at them, so you'll see here on the graphic, right, that there's the silver on the left there and the silver cocktails below it. There are 6 of them. And then there's the gold, and there are 4 cocktails below that, the gold cocktails. Now, these don't mix and match. So if you have a silver membership and you want to get a cocktail to go with it, you get a silver cocktail. You don't get a gold, but they don't work together. Same thing on the gold side. If you get a gold membership, then you want to go further, you would get one of the 4 gold cocktail NFTs. So you work one of these 2 paths. It doesn't matter which one you work. You can do whatever you want. And each ones have slightly different boosts, and they also have slightly different costs. All of these NFTs have finished their live minting time, so they have to be purchased on the secondary market, which I won't go any further than that yet, but I will explain how that works. So if you look below each set of cocktail NFTs, you'll see that there are ranges. So as an example, on the silver side on the left, there are 6, and they go from the gin and tonic, which is another 0.25% bonus, all the way up to the old fashioned, which is a full 1.0% bonus. And so the ones in between work up that scale. So if it makes sense, yeah, go ahead.
You made somebody very happy today. I think William is celebrating right now because his favorite drink is the gin tonic. And we even have stickers regarding gin tonic and some just as a side note before you progress, I really
Yeah.
like your branding. I've
Oh,
been behind the bar a good amount of time of my life. Like I did this
oh,
on
awesome.
weekends at a friend's bar in the past, and I loved it. And it gives me these memories back of these drinks that you have. In general, it looks very clean, and also great job on the presentation. I really enjoy when projects bring a presentation. I might be not speaking as much as in general, but at the other hand, I think it makes it so much easier to understand what you're talking of if you didn't do your research yet. Yeah, that's all I have
Great.
to say. Good concept, and just keep going.
Sure. So, thank you. So, at the bottom below each cocktail set, it's basically just giving you a summary of what you can get. So, in other words, with the silver, if you buy the silver membership, you get the 0.5 daily. Now, if you decide you want to also add a cocktail to it, and you can only add one, they don't stack. So, you can only have one cocktail with your membership. So you look down there and you say, okay, which one do I want? And so the boost range between the, like I said, the gin and tonic is the 0.25 all the way up to the old fashioned, which is the 0.10. So the total that you see in the daily range below means if you go ahead and get a silver membership along with one cocktail, your daily APR is going to be somewhere between 0.75 and 1.5 per day. 1.5 is our magic number, meaning we don't go above 1.5 and for anything. There are other ways you can get boosts to your APRs in the system, but it doesn't matter if you go over 1.5, that's the cap, you don't get it. And the reason we do that is, again, sustainability. We want to, we don't want to promise crazy 2, 3, 5, 8% daily. That's not sustainable. And we're trying to make this sustainable. So anyway, the gold and the silver, not one isn't better than the other. The gold isn't better than the silver in some way. It's just simply the next level that we did. And so each one has its pros and its cons based a lot too. This is part of the gamification of this contract. What's going on in the secondary market? And how cheaply or more expensive can you get one of these NFTs? You can always get the membership NFTs, I should mention. You can mint those directly from us. You don't have to buy those on the secondary market. So you can always get those. And in some cases, you can get them for less, though, on the secondary market than what we charge as the protocol, minting them. But that's up to you to look and see. So anyway, those are the NFTs. That's that. So now, what are we doing? Remember, well, let me go back real quick. Let me go back to this. Remember, we said that we had the revenue generation from the EMP and Elephant Money, and then we were talking about these NFTs. And the point I wanted to make here is that the sale of these NFTs, when they're live minted, and then the sale of the membership ones that are always coming from us, that money for the protocol is 100% profit. Because if you think about it this way, if you have any experience with NFT projects, which some of you may have, it's usually the way NFTs work that have utility is that you buy an NFT and then you're reflected back the native token of the project as a reward for buying the NFT. You earn token over time, right? And that's a very common approach to how people give utility to NFTs. We're not doing that. We're not paying you directly token because we don't have a native token. So we're not paying you directly in token for your faith in the project, so to speak, by buying the NFT. But what we're giving you instead is a boost in the APR, which if you think about it even further, is what that is time. We're giving you time. Someone who has a daily APR in our project of 0.25, it's going to take them longer to get back their ROI that we talked about earlier and then get into the profit zone than someone who's earning 1.25 per day. So what that is determining is time. So the higher your rate, the faster you get your money back and the faster you start to earn profit above that. So that's the utility that the NFT provides. But if you think about it from the perspective of the protocol, that's fantastic because all the money that is paid for those NFTs does not have to be paid back directly. And so therefore it's 100% profit to the protocol. So it really is the primary revenue source for our protocol, and these other EMP and Elephant are secondary to it. So we have these two very distinct ways to earn revenues that all of this is, though, dedicated towards paying more rewards back to the members. But nonetheless, this is the way that the system works. So this isn't just theoretical. I mentioned that we had launched a month ago, and we had done a lot of pre-sales of our NFTs prior to our launch. But now we've launched and we are investing. And so let's take a look at what we've actually been able to achieve really quickly. This is our primary investment in the EMP protocol. For those of you who aren't familiar with EMP, the main thing that we're in is their liquidity farm, which is the EMP ETH liquidity pool. This is what our current, as of earlier today, our position is. We have about 3,400 of these LP, which at today's prices represents about $125,000. We're earning a daily APR in this that is paid out to us in their reward token, which is called eShares. So we're not touching the principal. This principal is completely liquid. We could take the full $125,000 out of there today if we wanted to. And we're earning just from this pool currently about $200 a day in pure profit that we are putting away, which I'll show you how we're doing that in a minute. So,
Oh, wow. How much was your initial investment into these pools?
Well, we started when before we launched, we did our first NFT live mint, and we generated about $100,000, which is pretty substantial when you consider we hadn't even launched as a project, and people, our first investors took a leap of faith with us and bought these NFTs without even being able to deposit and earn anything off of them yet, because we hadn't launched. But we took that $100,000, and that was our beginnings of our war chest to start these investments. Now, the thing is that I knew the timing of this was important because I understand EMP, but I also understand to some degree the market. And I knew that we were coming into the crypto market at a time that presented a lot of opportunities. Now, I'm not here to say that necessarily this bear market that we've been going through, this winter we've been going through, is over. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that I believe that we will see another bull run. Whether it's starting now or it's going to be 6 months from now or it's going to be next year, that's up for debate. But the point being is that if you don't believe in DeFi and you don't believe in crypto, then what are you doing here? And so I believe that these things are going to happen. And so we started building this pool immediately before we even launched. So, we came in, I think the first amount of money we put in was $2,000, and then we put in another $5,000, and we just built this thing up over time. Now, what you're looking at in that $125,000, to be fair, some of that is price appreciation. We've done very well with EMP so far, and they're just coming back. There's nothing wrong with EMP, but every project, of course, if they survived at all, is down because of what's happened over the last year. But for example, the vast majority of the EMP native token that Speakeasy purchased, we purchased at around 8 or 9 cents a token. It's currently, I think today it's at 16. So we've doubled the value of our. And the ETH, and this is the other thing that's important to understand for those of you who may not understand the liquidity pools and LP tokens. What you see here is actually an LP token that is 1/2 EMP token, 1/2 Ethereum. So it's 50-50 to make one token called the EMP ETH LP. Now, why is that important? Well, It's important for a couple of reasons. One reason, without getting beyond the 5-year-old thing of this, it's important because the two tokens are paired to each other, and I won't go any further than that. But the other main reason that this is important to Speakeasy is you as an investor in Speakeasy are also getting exposure to Ethereum. We expose our members to a lot of blue chip cryptos. Half of this $125,000 is ETH. It's Ethereum, liquid Ethereum. So if you believe in Ethereum and you think that where we are right now at 1900 is just the beginning of where it's going to go, well, this is very bullish because we own a lot of Ethereum along with our EMP in these pairs. So you'll see as we go through where we are right now that we've exposed our members to not just Ethereum, but a lot of the blue chips. So the good news about this is it's earning for us, it's fully liquid, and it's half Ethereum. So even if you're not necessarily high on the EMP token, which I am, but if you weren't, you can know that, hey, half of this isn't even in EMP, it's in Ethereum, which we could take out and have as ETH today. So this is part of our position in EMP, the main part, the earning and liquid part. For those of you who are familiar with EMP, and you asked this question earlier on, when you asked about, well, is the money invested into other types of TVL contracts, or is it invested? Where is it invested? So the vast majority of it is invested, as I just showed you, in farms that are fully liquid. We did, however, make small investment into EMP has two daily ROI contracts. One's called Detonator and one's called Reactor. So without getting involved with the particulars of this, these are the same types of contracts in a way that Speakeasy is, in that they are locked, meaning you put your deposit in, you cannot take it out, and you're earning daily rewards based on that. Now, me being involved with EMP as tightly as I am, I was aware, because the market was down, that there was an opportunity here. And specifically, the opportunity is one of the things that both of these contracts offer is they offer a reward, a daily reward for the largest deposit on a given day. Whoever wins that gets a substantial reward for doing that as an incentive. So we came into these two contracts on one day and won that prize on that day for each one. So on the left side, on Detonator that you see there, we invested about $2,500 US into this contract. We won the largest deposit of that day. So you will see that that is the you've earned. It's now worth, the prize we won is now worth over $11,000. And so we have as if we had deposited $14,800 into this contract, but we actually only deposited $2,500. So that's what we won on this contract, and we are now compounding and earning rewards through this contract. And we did the same thing in Reactor. And Reactor, we spent even less. We spent $1,000, $1,000 USD, and we won. And the prize we won there is also worth about $11,500 right now. And so as if we had put in the 12, as you see there. So we did very small targeted investments because we knew we couldn't pull the money back out. It was going to take time, but we maximized our potential earnings by winning in these two. So we haven't gone in with any more money, and we don't need to. This is a secondary thing, but we are earning off of this and also supporting EMP along the way. So we have this also in our portfolio, if you will, of EMP investments. Now, I mentioned too that we're involved with elephant money. We are in elephant quite as heavy as we are in EMP, but I'm going to show you where we are with them. First off, we do have a position in their native token. We have, sounds crazy, but we have about 150 billion elephant token currently. We also have a small investment in their futures contract, which is basically a savings account. But it earns 0.5 a day, and it's performed very well for us so far. But the main investment that we have in Elephant Money, again, just like EMP, is in their farms. We have a fair amount of money in each one of these three farms: the BTCB trunk farm, the ETH trunk farm, and the USDT trunk farm. Each one of these, we have about $20,000, I think, USD at current market value in each one of these. The interesting thing about this, for those of you who don't know that much about Elephant Money, is, first of all, again, half of this is in these blue chip tokens. So again, you're now exposed, by being involved with Speakeasy, you're exposed to now Bitcoin, you're exposed again to Ethereum, and you're exposed to a stable in USDT. And the other thing that's really neat about the way they did this particular farming system is, just like in EMP, you have to buy their trunk token, which is one of their native tokens. And so you go 50% trunk, 50% whatever the blue chip is that you're picking here. But unlike EMP, what they do is it's not an LP pair. They keep them separate, which is kind of neat, because I don't want to get into a long conversation about impermanent loss, but you don't have impermanent loss with their system. There is a potential for impermanent loss with the EMP system. However, again, without getting too complicated, because the EMP token is pegged to Ethereum, the chances of impermanent loss in any serious way are radically reduced. But I won't go any further than that. So we have this particular exposure in Elephant Money. What does this mean in terms of actual dollars? What are we looking at here? So as of today, we have about $158,000 in today's value invested in EMP, with about $131,000 of that being fully liquid, that we could bring back to the pot to pay rewards at any time. And in Elephant, we have about 72,000 invested, 68,000 of which is fully liquid. And we also have close to $100,000 just sitting in our treasury that we haven't invested anywhere, that we're just holding on to for now. So all of this.
Very, very good. And these are some great numbers. I think it might most likely be the next thing that you will share with us. But how much do these investments give you back on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or whatever time frame that you might have in mind?
Right. On a weekly basis, currently we're earning about, on average, we're earning about one BNB a day. So about $320 a day out of these two investments in pure profit, in pure reward token, not even accounting for any price appreciation on any of this. So that's where we are currently. And what we're doing with that is we're taking that 300 and something dollars a day that we're pulling out of these two projects, because we're not reinvesting. We are not compounding these projects. We are taking those rewards and getting them ready to put back into our ecosystem. So, and the way we do that currently is we put the rewards into this bottom graphic you see, which is basically just a buy swap USDT BTCB farm that's safe and paying a little bit of interest. And we've got nearly $10,000 in pure reward earnings already put into this. And this is the first funds that will go back into the contract if and when we need it. We don't need it yet. And I'll show you how that's working here in a minute. But this is where the war chest is going to ultimately restock the coffers, if you will, once we need it. So that way we can start tapping from this pool back into our pot without touching the primary investments that we have above, and let them continue to earn for as long as possible. And then plus we have this.
It makes sense, and you played it smart with that one. Like, even with the rewards, you don't leave them just on the sideline somewhere waiting like a lot of projects do. They have their treasury in stables, but they don't work with these stables. And I know that there is still a risk with Bitcoin and USDT, but if you're a believer in crypto in general, then these are like the biggest players on the market. So if you don't believe in them, you better switch to somewhere else. And it still gives you, how much does it give? Give you around 7.3% APY, I read. So you even grow the treasury that you're building from rewards with some rewards.
Right. We didn't want to put it just in stables. So we did this one and it goes up and down. It's been as high as 12, 13% recently, but so it's very safe. It's, there's not a lot of risk of impermanent loss with this type of pool. And especially with Bitcoin at these lower prices. Anyway, this is what we're doing with it. And so it's all fairly conservative, all fairly straight ahead. We're not working with, alt tokens. We're not going to get into any of that. Everything is going to be stuff like this, that is tried and true. EMP's been around for about 18 months now. Elephant has been around for over 2 years, even though they had that exploit issue last summer. They recovered from that and are rebuilding themselves, and we're able to survive. And that speaks a lot to the protocol and the health of it overall. So we're comfortable there.
Absolutely.
We're comfortable
Like
there. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
it's like 2 years is an incredible long time for some DeFi project, and
Oh,
18 months doesn't sound too bad as well. And if they still pay out with that rate, they have to do something correct, I would say.
that's right. I mean, in this market, on BSC chain particularly, I don't really, there may not be any other protocols that have lasted this long as EMP has, and Elephant. I mean, I don't know if Tomb is still around or Bomb or any of those things that were around during the bull run last time.
I
But if
think
they
there
are,
was one miner around that ran for over a year and is still running. I'm not 100% sure, but in
yeah,
generally speaking, it's just a very long time. Like a lot of people entered the space 2 years ago,
yeah,
and if these projects are still around, it means a lot, and it means a lot to make it through this winter when volume was low, when everybody was depressed, and yeah, a lot
right,
of
right.
recover
Yeah,
from that.
and yeah,
Very
and so
good.
the other thank you. The other idea with this is we're not going to get really unique, because we don't want to get in because everybody's got their own ideas, right? And it's like if somebody comes to us and says, "Oh, we've got this unique token, man, it's going to like 1000x." It's like we're all going to get Lambos. We're not interested in any of that. That's all great, and it may happen, but with this project, what we're trying to do is do sustainability, do long-term passive income for the members. And we're only going to be putting funds into things like this that are all connected to blue chip tokens in the space. And we're going to let the chips ride on that. And on purpose, because again, if you've got the next hot thing, that's great. You can go invest on that on the side with your own thing. But as a protocol, I'm just not comfortable taking those kinds of risks. And I don't have any inherent knowledge necessarily that's that much better than anybody else's. So I'm not going to pretend like I have some sort of divine knowledge that what's going to win and what's going to lose. What I know is what has worked. And like you just said, what has been around for 2 years, which is a lifetime in DeFi. So that's where I'm going to look to put the money. Because if something goes wrong with these investments, that means something went wrong with DeFi. And I don't have a problem going, hey, well, DeFi is not around anymore. If Ethereum isn't around anymore, I don't know what to tell you, as an example, or Bitcoin, or all of these. So that's where we want to be. That's the design of this protocol. It's not the sexiest. It's not going to pay out the very biggest daily APRs, that kind of thing. But it does have its advantages, and one of them is sustainability, hopefully. So let's wrap all these numbers up with this screen. This is this protocol screen you see on the left is part of the actual interface on the website. So if you are an investor in Speakeasy, you get this information. Some of it is live in real time, but most of it is manually put in every couple of days. But you still have a running understanding of where the protocol is at any given time. We are big on that type of transparency. If you come and join us and come into our Telegram, you'll see that I'm there a lot. I'm sharing a lot of this kind of stuff on a daily basis, what we're doing, where we are. There's no mystery here. It's pretty straightforward. So let's just take a look at the protocol screen that you would see and try to interpret it a little bit, what we're looking at. So currently, you see in the protocol that currently we have 401 BNB in the pot. And that the money that is in the pot is locked, period. We can't get to it. It's there specifically to pay rewards. So part of that is when people deposit it, that 50% stays locked in there. And then if and when we ever put in new money into the pot, we haven't done that yet. We don't need it to. It's locked the minute we put it in. So we have no control over that. So right now there's 400 BNB in there to pay out rewards to people. Our bank, however, has 945 BNB in it, nearly 1,000 BNB in it, and is growing through the efforts of what we've just gone through in terms of showing you. So that number, has gone up substantially since day one of this. The average daily boost is simply what is the average daily percent that our members are getting. Remember, it can go from as low as 0.25 all the way up to 1.5. Well, on average, people are getting 0.78 right now on the average. That's really bullish for us. Again, it's not even close to the 1.5 that we would allow. So, this is great. And people are happy and they're getting returns consistently. So it's all great. The rewards available is that USDT Bitcoin pool that we just talked about at the end. That's the almost $10,000 that we put aside to be the first line of defense, if you will. This BNB is going back into the pot before we would touch any of our primary investments. So we're trying to build this up as big and strong as we possibly can before we would ever need to use it, so that we don't have to touch our primary investments. We can hopefully pay into the pot out of the rewards available and make that sustainable. That would be the idea and the ideal. So then below that is just numbers of how many members we currently have and who holds what. So basically, what does this mean? You can look at it on the left side and interpret it and say that what we've achieved in just the pot, forget about the 1,000 BNB in the bank, just in the pot currently, we have enough. If everybody that is currently in claimed 100% of the time, we would have 6 weeks of sustainability in the pot, just in the pot, to cover that. If they took out at the rate that they're currently taking out, because some people are compounding, which we call let it ride. Some people are letting it ride, and some people are claiming, which we call cash out. So the average there means we have 8 weeks of self-sustainability in the pot under those assumptions. And that's not these dates and times are assuming no new investments, 0, just what we currently have. So, and that also doesn't consider all of the assets we have in the bank. So we've built up some sustainability. Are we satisfied? No, but this is where we are currently. And it's very, very healthy. And this is after a month of paying out rewards. So when I said earlier, so far so good in terms of the way these numbers are working and the way people are using the protocol. So that's a snapshot of where we currently are for those who might be considering jumping into it. That, there's not a question of, well, is this going to be around tomorrow? Yeah, it's going to be around tomorrow. It's going to be around for at least 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, but that's not even considering the bank, which is way more than double what we have in the pot, right? So we've got a runway here, even under the worst case scenario of no new investments from new investors. So we basically taken a look now at how the protocol works, where we currently are today. And let me wrap up the presentation part of this by just going through a couple quick bullet points about the mechanics and things that are important in terms of how we have created sustainability. You'll remember at the very beginning, I was talking about that as the number 2 goal outside of not rugging people. So we've talked about the fact that we use BNB as our in and out and why that's important. We've talked about our real world daily averages, meaning we're not paying something crazy. We're paying what we think we can sustain. This is another huge difference between our contract and the majority of ROI or minor contracts that you would see out there. It is not a daily contract. It is a weekly contract. What does that mean? It means that you only interact with the contract once a week, not every day. You're earning your rate every day, but you only have access to it once a week. Why? Why would you do that? Well, it's a sustainability factor because you can't, you can make your decisions about whether you want to claim or you want to compound weekly. So that takes out a lot of things that can happen with other protocols, like their FUD gets spread or something and then people panic and they start taking out and that builds on itself. You can't do that in this project. You have a decision to make once a week as to whether or not you're going to claim what you've earned or you're going to put it back into the contract. Period. End of story. That's also beneficial that you're not having to live your life around your contract, having to be there every day. You don't. You have to be there once a week, again, to make this decision. I
even saw systems where you had to claim or compound like 3 or 4 times a day in the past. And I tried it out once, but I was overwhelmed, to be honest. Like I always forgot about doing it. And once a week seems very appealing to me in comparison.
People, the early comments on it before we had launched were, well, I don't know, are you sure about that? And, and that's because I don't know of any other contract that I've seen that does it this way. And so people were used to doing it daily. But now that we've been running for a month, I haven't heard anybody complain about it, actually. And it has a lot of advantages, both to the investor as well. It certainly has a ton of advantages to the protocol because, again, everything happens so slowly in this contract by design. And so whales can't come in and manipulate this contract. It just doesn't work that way. Again, is it as sexy as every other contract? No. But is it sustainable? I think it is. So no daily compounds, weekly, and not even multiple times a day, like you said, the hyper compounding. We also have limits on both how much you can claim on your weekly, as well as how much you can put in to a wallet. And those are the weekly claim limit is 2 BNB per week. That's the max if that you can claim in a given week. And as far as the wallet controls are concerned, the way that works is the max that you can get out of a wallet. So the max that you can put into any single wallet is 20 BNB, and the max return on any single wallet is 3x. So you can put in 20, you can take out 60. That's it. Once you do that, once you max that wallet, that wallet is dead. You can, of course, use other wallets, and people have several wallets in the protocol. But again, this is a mechanic that just helps keep things under control and doesn't allow for, easy manipulation of the system, particularly by whales. We also have...
What about my NFT? If I get one of these NFTs, let's say I get like the old-fashioned, and my wallet is dead, can I still send over this NFT to another wallet?
Yes. You own the NFT. You can move the NFT to another wallet. We're not trying to get you to stop investing in the protocol. We're not trying to take your more money from you either. That is your NFT forever. You purchased it. You can sell it on the secondary market, by the way, if you want to get out of the protocol or something. So it's not a 100% sunk cost. as long as the protocol is around, it's possible for you to sell them. And we'll look at that really quickly here in a minute. But so yes, you own them. You own them. You can transfer them whenever you want.
how much they are currently. But if you review this anyway, then let's move on. But sounds interesting, and I hoped for that you can move your NFTs between wallets.
You absolutely can. The other really important thing to note is our referral program, or you see there that it says it's modest, and that is again by design. What we mean by that is it's almost non-existent. One of the things that I discovered early on in researching this project and understanding what I wanted to do was, and this is no shade to these people, but a lot of times what happens in these ROI or mining contracts is you get these high-end YouTube influencers and such that come in and they promote the project like crazy, and they have their referral code. And so they haven't invested anything in the protocol themselves other than their time to do the video or what have you. And then they get all of these referrals. And then if it's a daily or multiple times a day, then they hyper compound all this stuff. And then they end up dumping and taking all their rewards out and dumping on the heads of the people who actually invested in the protocol, when they really, the only thing that they contributed was their time and talents to create whatever sort of promo materials that they did. So again, no shade to them. It's just not a very healthy thing for protocols. So I didn't want to do it. So you can't do that in our system. There's a modest referral program that gives you a 5% credit to your TVL on the first deposit only if you refer somebody, and that's it. It's just that simple. There are no teams, there are no airdrops, there's none of that. All of the money that normally goes to those things is being used to pay back actual investors in the protocol.
Correct. Is it with each investor that I bring to the protocol, or is it just with the first investor that I bring to the protocol?
You can, the way it works is the referral code is simply your wallet address. And so there's a couple factors. So if you were referring people to the project, you could say, hey, use this wallet address as your referral code. What would you get for that? You would get 5% of their first deposit only for each one. And you can only do that 25 times. So per wallet. So you would be able to get a 5% bonus on your TVL, the first deposit of 25 people that you referred into the project per your wallet. And by the way, I should mention, that wallet has to have one of our membership key card NFTs in it, or you don't get the credit. And you have to, of course, since it's a TVL credit, you also have to be invested in the protocol for that to make any sense.
Okay, that's cool. That's interesting. I also like that you limited the amount of referrals that you are possible to fulfill, because I had the same issue with some protocols in the past. They were paying out far too much for the referral side of things, and you could basically get a very nice bag, let's call it a bag, in these projects, but just by playing the referral game.
Right.
But after all, the money does have to come from somewhere. And if it comes from the treasury, if it comes from investors' money, then it's just not sustainable. And I like to play that you play it smart with referral, set an incentive, but not overdo it.
Yeah, and I will say, especially looking at the list of people who are in the room right now, I see a few names that I recognize from our community. And one of the things that I've learned about this approach is that investors can get a little bit anxious about not seeing a ton of new investor money coming in all the time, and they're like, well, when are we going to see that? And because we're not incentivizing in this way people to come and just refer a bunch of people in and make a bunch of referrals, it's slower. Everything I told you earlier, everything about this is a slow roll, and including the amount of investors that come in. So we don't have that typical rush of you just seeing a ton of new investments coming in all the time, based on somebody releasing a video about the project, that kind of thing. The way that we're growing is exactly what I'm doing right now. And that is getting out and pounding the pavement and talking to real investors in AMAs and getting 1 here, 2, 3 there. That's how we're doing this. And the idea behind that is, as you can see from looking at our numbers, we're healthy and we want to continue to be healthy. And I am personally totally fine taking care of the investors that are already in the project, which we're doing currently, and then finding those people who like this project and going slowly. I'm totally fine with that. Some people have a little bit of a hard time getting used to it, but it's the way that's going.
But Kirk, there are a few things that you just said that remind me of a project that I'm involved in and that I work for, because that's exactly their approach. They don't want, sorry, the language, but they don't want this cheat fest. They don't want people rushing in and trying to get as fast as possible out of the project again with the 2x. But at the same time, it's the best community that I've ever been part of. Because if you educate people and if you show them that a long sustainability and long-term slow growth is the way to go, they reward you a lot of the times. And I hope they do with you as well, because the project that I'm talking about, the project that I'm involved in, it has one of the best charts in the BSC space over the last, let's say, 6 or 7 months. Even though the market went down, this project performed because people were not in for quick money. And this is something that people need to learn. If you want something relatively safe, I think safe is a big word in crypto. But if you want something relatively safe, and if you want something that lasts a long time, then you can't expect 1000x in 2 days. And you have to stick with what you once started. And if you took this approach straight from the start, you're in a very good position because you educate your community on a daily basis on how you want to run this ship. And I think the numbers speak for itself. Like when I saw your investments that you have currently, that's a lot of money. I'm seeing like 1.5K BNB laying in this project, in this protocol. And this is a number that a lot of fast growing projects, they never achieve it. Because that's just my feeling, like big money picks safety over reward. They pick long-term growth and stability over hype and over, how should I say it, like over this typical short-lived marketing approach. And these projects that go into conversation with communities, this is like the bread and butter if you want to build it long-term. Speak to real people, don't overhype it, stick to what you said, don't give timelines. And I really get this vibe from you when you speak about your project, and it makes me, very, very happy that we have projects that go another route than to just release a token and still want to make it long-term sustainable and are not just in for buying the first bag and getting TVL up and getting a lot of money out of it, but making it sustainable. Because this is what shied me away from these protocols. I always thought, how on earth should this be sustainable? And you pick a different kind of approach, but you still put the good things from it into it.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I mean, I think that, what we're trying to do here, like I said, and everybody that stuck with us through this, is just like, I'm explaining how it works. There's no mystery to this. And as you said earlier, I think one of the things that you said earlier, which is the key to all of this, which is the money has to come from somewhere. And if you look at a project and they're promising and maybe even delivering for a while these really high daily percentages and stuff, I've looked at this. I'm not saying those people are doing something nefarious, not at all in most cases, but is it sustainable? Generally, no, it's not, because you just can't make that money appear out of nowhere. And I think that as a community in DeFi, we're learning this lesson the hard way, and it's a good lesson. I mean, even earning 1% a day, which some people in DeFi now look down their nose at, that's insane. That's an insane return relative to the real world.
I mean,
Um,
come on, compare it with your bank account, and these
yeah,
are huge numbers. If we talk about real estate or something like that, these are still very, very impressive numbers, and you can't achieve that in the real world as easy as here in the space. But if I hear something like 1,000% APR, ah, okay, I'm gone.
yeah,
You
and I
know, like
mean, I
I
get
paid a
the
lot
D,
of money to
yeah, I
learn as
get
well.
the yeah, totally. Me too. I get the degen philosophy, and I like doing that sometimes too. I don't mind throwing a little bit of money at something that I think, oh man, I don't think this is going to work. But if it does, I'm going to score. I don't mind that. But that's just not what this is. You can have in your portfolio anything you want, but this thing, Speakeasy, is what I've explained it to be. It is a longer term. People talk a lot about, you see this term passive income a lot in the space now. This is about as passive as it gets. I think that what we're trying to do is, take this type of contract to the next level. The proof will be in the pudding in terms of time. How long can this work? But and then that's the other thing. It's all about the investor and what they choose to do too. It's not just about me by any stretch, or the contract, or how well written the contract is, or any of those kinds of things. There are a lot of things that we can't control, including the price of these, blue chip tokens. And, that's the last thing I would say too about that is, all of this presentation that I've been making, I haven't really talked much at all about price appreciation. I'm not even really factoring that in, because I don't think we've seen any price appreciation of any significant amount. Again, for instance, just with EMP alone, the Speakeasy protocol, I don't know the exact number, but currently now holds over 500,000 EMP token. It is currently, when we purchased most of that, like I said, we purchased it around 8 or 9 cents. It's currently 16. A year ago, before the winter, it was 80 something.
Wow,
and,
that's
and
a
EMP, yeah, and EMP is not sitting on their hands. If you want to go and spend some time with EMP, I encourage you to do it. There's a whole new protocol that they're coming out with that's part of the system called Fusion. I am incredibly bullish on EMP and in my personal investment in EMP. And then, so therefore, I'm also incredibly bullish for the people who have come into Speakeasy, because, it gives them the chance to get involved with these projects. And that's the other thing, right? Is that if you come into Speakeasy, you are getting exposure to protocols like EMP, like Elephant Money, without having to learn how to work them, and what you're supposed to do and how you do it, and the time it takes to compound and all of that stuff. You don't have to worry about that. It's being done for you through the contract. So, that's another advantage to people, and another quote unquote passive aspect to this contract. So, again, is it going to get you that Lambo next week? No, it is not. But it may actually make you some money. No,
yeah,
not financial advice or no promises.
yeah, absolutely. Kirk, I in this funny world we call the Web3, I found my place, first of all, as a voice chat host, but second of all, as a marketer. And I like to help projects to bring the best out of their brand, to spread awareness, and to just build the foundation that they need for growth. And when I listen to your project and also what you just said, with you don't have to educate yourself about these protocols, you passively get involved with them. It sounds like your product would be a very good one for DeFi beginners, maybe also for a more mature community. In terms of marketing, you said you're always in talks with communities, but how do you create outreach beside that at a given time? How do you spread awareness about the project? And what's your ideal investor?
Okay. Yeah, great question. The marketing side of things is, we haven't done a ton of the traditional, like big, we haven't made any agreements with any big, huge influencers or any of those types of things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, I'm really a firm believer for this particular project in doing this type of hard work of doing the AMAs, of talking to people, and the other thing that is important to us is our own community, and our own community doing their little part to reaching out to the people that they know and talking about the protocol and and that's going to only increase as time goes by. And, so we've had 4 weeks now of people getting their rewards, and the vast majority of them are very excited about that. So they're not even claiming, they're compounding, right? To try to build up their bags. But as time goes by and we get months into this, and we're 6 months into this, and people are going, oh, wow, Speakeasy, that's still around? Yeah, man, not only is it around, but I've been I've been getting paid every week out of that thing like clockwork. There's going to hit a tipping point of people that are heard of our project but didn't decide to invest right away. And then they hear about it again. So it's just a very slow moving train from a marketing perspective. But we are doing those things, and we also are going to be spending a little bit more time investing in our own YouTube channel with some more videos about the protocol and how that works and such. And we may do one or two things with some quote unquote larger names as we mature the project, as long as it doesn't cost us too much, because I just don't want to spend that much money on that kind of thing, frankly.
I'm very happy with the answer that you give me, because I think community for a young startup is its greatest asset. I'm a strong believer that projects that create this, I always call it like cult-like following, cult-like community base, that they are the ones having the best chances to succeed in the market. Yes, there needs to be a team. Yes, there needs to be a capable developer, but it's not everything in the team's hands. And the approach that you're taking, and also what you said about the word goes around, this project is still in the market, I'm still getting rewards. Once again, it reminds me on the project that I'm in, because a lot of people, when this project 10x or 20x or 50x, a lot of people thought that it's old. It's an old project. I shouldn't invest into it anymore because its days are over, basically. But
Right.
what happened is they just recovered from their first big all-time high, and they shot to the next all-time high where BNB was dumping, just because they built the foundation, because they have this cult-like follower, they have these supporters out there that spread awareness. And let's be real, influencer marketing is nice. It's cool. It gets you a lot of eyes in a very small amount of time. But at the same time, these eyes, they don't stick with your project most of the times forever. You can keep one or two of them, or three, maybe even more. But if a friend tells you about something, that's a different story. If he's already involved, if he is making good experiences with your project, I think it's a very smart and very wise approach to marketing. And I would even incentivize you to push these big stages for as long as possible, because at some point, when your community is set, when you build the foundation with a lot of love, a lot of passion, and most of all, honesty with your community, then these people are ready to welcome the newcomers in your community, and you can really make a marketing push. But if that foundation isn't there, in my eyes, then it's a gamble.
Once again, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that, we are running, into headwind, if you will, because of some of like what you were saying. Somebody looks at a project and they go, oh, it's been around for 4 months. Well, it must be about to die. I don't want to invest in that. And that's kind of crazy on one hand, but there's a reason for that, because that is what happens. So when you're trying to create a project that has longer lifespan than that, I mean, again, like I said, the Frost Flakes project that was the genesis of this lasted 7 months, which was a pretty long time for a contract like that. Well, so and we have so much more going for us than Frost Flakes did. So if we don't last for even at least 7 months, then I don't think we can say we were very successful. So, so we're looking at beyond that. How do we sustain beyond that? Because again, I'm not here to say that this contract is the be all end all contract, the best contract of its type that's ever been written, any of those kinds of things. What I do think is that it's an improvement on the contract that it came from. And Jack, who built it, would tell you the same thing if he was here. And the mechanics are better. And on paper, it should sustain a lot longer. And so if that ends up happening, then that's a win. Even if it's not a win for every single investor in the project, it's a win for DeFi overall. And it's a win for this iterative process that we need to go through to understand how to do this in a way that is more sustainable and that fewer people get burned on projects. So I'm totally happy with that. If this thing ends up lasting a couple of years, great. I don't know that it's going to do that, but it certainly has the potential to do that, and that's good enough for me at this point. And so we keep working every day towards that, and trying to keep it real and sustainable as possible, like I said. And so the number of people who are in the protocol, I actually don't care. I've said that in our Telegram chats and stuff before, and people usually kind of look at me sideways because they're used to everybody pumping and going and Bo and Win Wambo and all this stuff. And I'm like, I think we have like 500 members and only 300 and something of them. This is an interesting statistic. Let me go back one screen. We have 513 members currently, which is how many people have purchased membership NFTs. But only 326 of those 513 have actually put any money in the protocol. That to me is really interesting. What are those other people doing? Why did they buy an NFT if they didn't want to come in the protocol? So, or maybe they're just waiting, or maybe who knows what the answer is. But we don't have a ton of people in our protocol, is my point. But we're doing well, and we're taking care of the people that we have. And so if we get 3 more people from this AMA, or even 1 more person from this AMA, fantastic. We will do it that way. And, it's enough. We have had enough of a head start with the people who came in first and set the groundwork and gave us the money to invest early and to start this whole process, is the reason that we're here, and, the rest of it is just going to follow suit. So I just feel very strongly that, it doesn't matter whether we have, 513 and 326, or we have 10 times that number, because the mechanics are the same. And I'd rather take care of the people who are in it now, that were in it early, than get a ton of people and have a lot of extra zeros on all these numbers, but then the whole thing blows up or something. I would much rather do it this way.
Yeah, and also if we consider the time frame that you are in the market for now, like if we say you have like 500 people involved in that project, that's more than 10 people a day. And I think with your approach, you want to get people slowly in and continue to get more people in over time, but you don't want that huge push in 1 second, and then you have a few days of nobody coming in. At least that's what I think after what you told me now in the past 1.5 hours, that the slow and steady is something that is deeply involved in this project. It doesn't matter where you look, you always have that slow and steady approach. And yeah, so don't be too shy about your numbers. Maybe your numbers are great, and your numbers brought a lot of capital. That's what you
Yeah.
have to say
Yeah.
as
No,
well.
I'm,
Like
I'm,
these people are kind of financially strong, I would say.
yeah, I'm very happy with the numbers. Again, when you see all the numbers that we shared earlier and the reserves that we have on hand, all of that came from a very small number of people. And again, to your point earlier about, personalities and that kind of thing, the vast majority of the investors in our project are people that came over from the Jack's Frost Flakes project. So they were in this from before I was around and just came to know and trust Jack. And the fact that he was building the contract on this project made them comfortable. And so they came in. And so it very much speaks to what you were saying about that. I think it's special in DeFi when you find somebody like I feel about AJ Brockman, who you can trust and is a good person and is trying to do something, for the community. You find somebody like that and you stick with them. And hopefully I'm making those kind of relationships as well. But I know Jack certainly has, and with everything that he's done, not just this project, but and other things. So I'm very happy with everything. It's just the nature of the beast that people always want to see more, and you kind of have to, like you said, educate a little bit and just go, okay, well, wait a minute, let's try to do this way because this has the best chance for long-term success, and that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. And I think with that much love and that much passion, but once and foremost, the honesty. This is something um, that really makes this AMA a bit unique. You have a lot of people, or you don't have a lot of people. You have some people coming in here and telling people, "Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's not everything in my hands. It could go either way." But with your project, it really stands apart from a lot of others. And this is something that I sometimes miss because yes, it's great if you have a great meme branding or whatever, but it doesn't mean you will do the 1000x. It doesn't mean that you will do even a 5x. There is no guarantee. And if you tell people early, I think they are aware of the situation and they also know that they play a role in that system, that they are not just capital providers. They are part of a young startup. They are part of, let's call it a baby that wants to grow, but it can only grow if you treat it well. And you also have to treat it well as an investor, not only as an owner.
Absolutely. I, again, couldn't agree more. I mean, kudos to you for saying that because, it is true. I mean, again, this is just code on the internet. And you look at, and my job is to explain what the code on the internet does. Then it's your job to decide to invest in it and how to best invest in it and how to best take care of that investment. It's still the same code on the internet that it was when you just decided to get into it. And so, that's why the community in these types of projects is so critical. And people sometimes miss the fact that it is their responsibility. It's like, I don't work for you, Mr. Investor. I work for myself. And yes, I'm the one that put this code out on the internet. And yes, I'm the one that explains what it does. But it's up to you to push the buttons. It's up to you to decide to be in it and to take advantage of it and how to operate it, when you claim, when you don't. All those things is totally 100% up to you. And so if you like the way that I personally approach putting code on the internet and how I talk about it and how I market it, great. But, again, it's your responsibility. And that's the beautiful thing I think about DeFi is that you have the choices. No one is forcing you to do any of this. And no one is forcing you to push any of those buttons. And if you do decide to do that, then don't forget that you play a part in it besides just that. You aren't buying a product or a service. You're coming in and accessing, just like now if you want to access ChatGPT to do something for you. It's the same kind of thing. You still have to do the work and put the prompts into ChatGPT to get it to do what you want it to do. Same thing here. And so, I just think it's really important that people remember that.
Absolutely. Like a lot of times I really have to laugh a bit, or I think it's kind of weird when investors, in the worst case, project ends. Every day a project ends. But when people start to blame the team, if they really tried to make it work, nobody forced you to press that button. You wanted the reward, then you also have to live with the risk. And yeah, we shouldn't talk too much about negative stuff, but like I said earlier, I like that approach of complete honesty and just being technical and telling the people how it is, not selling any. I don't know if that term exists in English, but in German we say air castles, like something that isn't actually there, but you sell it as if it would be there. And a lot of teams did that in the past. A lot of teams just relied on hype and didn't bring anything significant to the table. This is a refreshing approach to what we or what was told to me in the past about mining concept. And I think that this is way better than the concept that I was initially socialized with because I had one experience with it. It was a bad experience. I lost all of my money, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even little of money. But with this system, I can see that there are streams of money. There is not just a new investor buying in, there is capital working. Everybody knows that money can make you money. If you have a good amount of money, it will give you a good amount of, let's call it passive income, even though that this word is kind of overused in the space, but it does. If you have a good amount of capital, it doesn't matter. Invest it into real estate and it will give you some return. And if you work smart with that money that you have in your treasury in your bank, I think that it could significantly boost the money income of the project. We talked about not even taking price action into consideration. So if we really leave this bear market now and things turn bullish, yeah, these investments go up and these investments keep creating more money for the system. So at least for me now, I can see how this can work long term because I couldn't see it back in the days, but I'm a little DJ myself. Sometimes I just want to try
Sure.
it out and burn my fingers. But there's nothing wrong about being a DJ. There is just something wrong about not learning from your mistakes. And when you initially started to talk about the system, I was kind of like, okay, let's see. And now I'm far more confident speaking about this project and also seeing the long-lasting effect that it could have. And I think you did a great job on your presentation. It was very enjoyable to listen to you. We're in for a little bit over 1.5 hours now, and I just don't want to take the mic away from you yet. I just wanted to tell you that now I think it is the time that we talk a bit about security. Just some basic questions. Is any contract audited? Are you
Yes.
doxxed? And yeah, do you plan to do KYC or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. As far as the audit, yes, we are audited. We were audited by the stamp, and we scored an 83, which was in the top 20th percentile of all contracts that they scored, and is a pretty high score considering that ours is a proxy contract. And it has to be in order for us to move the funds around like we do. So not trying to hide anything, in terms of what the contract is and isn't in that sense, but you can go and look at their audit of our protocol. As far as the issue of doxing and KYC, I am not doxed. I don't think it would be very hard to find me, but I'm not officially doxed. I have been thinking about it, and same thing with KYC. I am looking at a couple of different services that offer KYC services, but I haven't gone through the process yet, and I'm not 100% convinced yet that I want to. But it doesn't have anything to do. I don't want to sugarcoat it in terms of saying it's something and it isn't, but I am known to people like AJ Brockman and a couple other people that you would probably know in the space, know who I am, and can get a hold of me in the real world. So that isn't to say that's the exact same thing, but that's kind of where we sit currently. And I'm, spending some time investigating exactly if and how I might want to do more than that.
Yeah, I don't care too much how you answer that question, to be honest. Like, I saw Docs People Rug. I
Sure.
saw Undocs people doing great stuff. After all, we still don't know who Satoshi is. So he was the first original guy that didn't want KYC, and I think that's fine. As long as you build your name in the space, are you really willing to lose that name? You only have that name once, and it takes time and it takes a lot of effort to build a name in the space. So I'm happy with that. I know that a few people like that Project Leads KYC themselves, but this is just a personal taste. In terms of security, I'm confident that you did an audit, because this, on the other hand, I think, there is no 100%. I saw audited projects. Even myself, when I was involved in the project, we had an audit for our smart contract. Everything was said to be fine, and in the end, it was a honeypot. We managed to solve that situation, but like, things happen, and audits are no guarantee. But I think it's good if you get somebody from outside to have a look at it, give it a rating. Also in terms of investor confidence, because not everybody knows you, not everybody listens to your AMAs, and I think then it's very good for a project. Also in terms, let's call it marketing, because when I first joined the space and people were doing audits, it was considered marketing. These days, people don't do that anymore. Although I think it is some kind of marketing, because if I can put on my website that my contract was audited by some recognizable firm in the space that built a good name, I think that gives trust to the brand in general.
Sure.
But yeah, thank you very much for your answer on this one. And this is basically my last question. Today is a very unusual AMA, because in general, I tend to speak a lot. I tend to ask a lot. But Kirk, you did a very solid job on your presentation. It was really enjoyable to listen to. You were straight to the point. I can easily understand your project now without having any issues to understand the system. So I just wanted to provide you some more minutes that you can sum it up, that you could stress certain points that you think are very important. And if somebody has a question, then it would be the time to link me in the chat, and I will read the question to Kirk if it's a good one. If the question is already answered, Kirk, then I do the job for you. I just answer it briefly, and we go to the next one.
Sure. I think what I would like to do, just to wrap up, is to very quickly show you the DApp, which is what you're looking at right now. And so the interface itself is very simple. This is it. Basically, once you connect your wallet to the DApp, then you can go ahead and make your very first deposit here. And this is where the referral goes if you are going to provide them with a referral. Here's all of the information that I was talking about. Here's the thing we looked at over here on the left. It says 0 because I'm not connected. I don't know that this wallet has anything in it. Oh, okay. But still, you can see. So we're connected. So showing the bank deposit stuff we looked at, the sustainability stuff, which was on another slide of ours. So you saw this whole thing. but we also have a full breakdown of what's going on in the bank that you can see at all times. Here's EMP, all the things that we're doing, the current values. Same thing with Elephant Money. I mentioned that we had a small investment in Wolf Capital. That's here as well. And you can see just an overview of the blue chips and stables that we're holding within the protocol. So you can get a quick at-a-glance look at where we are at any given time to understand how the protocol is operating. Again, I share this kind of information in the chat often too. So if you are considering getting involved, so the call to action, if you want to do that, again, the first thing you need to do would be to mint a membership NFT. You can go down to the minting section of the DApp, and you can pick which one you want to mint, either a silver or a gold. These are the prices of each that you see here. And again, the silver takes you from the guest rate of 0.25 and doubles it to 0.5, and the gold is a little bit more expensive, but it takes you all the way up to 0.75 just by holding it. So you mint these. Now you can look at the secondary market for these as well, but generally you're going to mint these. The golds, I don't think there are any available in the secondary market. But anyway, so step one would be to mint one of these. Then if you wanted to consider one of our cocktail NFTs to go with it that we talked about, here they are, the silver ones with their boost and the gold collection with their boost. Now, all of these are on the secondary market. It's the only place you can get them now. So what you would do to play the game, so to speak, properly is you'd want to mix and match and see what's available at what price, and then you would make a determination. So for instance, let's say, okay, well, I'm looking to try to get about 1% a day. I think that's a good number for me. So how would I get that? Well, okay, if I went the silver route, I know that for 0.25 BNB, I can buy this, and that gets me to 0.5. That gets me halfway there. So that means I need a cocktail that gets me another 0.5. So that one in the silver collection is the Bloody Mary. So I can go ahead and click on this. And this is our official partners. NF Trade is who we work with. And all of our NFTs are verified through them. That's the blue check mark. And what that simply means is that there aren't any fake NFTs here. If you're buying an NFT, you of course buy it on other markets, but if you buy it here, you know you're getting a real thing. And so now you can look at the various Bloody Mary NFTs that are available. And if you're not familiar with NFTs at all, basically the floor price is the cheapest price available currently. So that means that right now you could buy a Bloody Mary cocktail for 0.38 BNB. So that would be your cost to get to 1%, would be the 0.25 BNB for the membership key card, plus the 0.38 BNB for this cocktail. So you would be a total of whatever that is, 60 something, 63. 0.63 BNB is your investment NFT, part of your investment anyway, to get that 1% a day. So that's what you would look at. So then you would maybe then say, well, how does that compare out to the gold? Okay, well, the gold, I get 0.75 just by having the membership. So I really only need 0.25 to get to 1. So that is 0.25. That's the Long Island iced tea on the gold side. What does that cost? Okay, 0.25. So, but the gold is 0.75 BNB for the gold. So that's a total of 1 BNB. So it's cheaper to go the other way. So that's what you have to do, is figure out where you want to build your boosting percentage, then look at the secondary market on both the gold and the silver and find out which is the cheapest way to get there. And that's it. Then once you have your NFTs, you need to have your both of them. I mean, you can just get the membership, like I said. If you want to stop there, that's fine. But if you want, you can't just have a cocktail and no membership NFT. It doesn't work that way. So you first get the membership, then if you want to add a cocktail, then you could do that. So once you've finished buying your NFTs, whichever way you want to go, then you would go connect via MetaMask to the contract, and it will see what you have, and it will put in your My Daily Boost section. It will say, oh, okay, you have 1.0 a day, so you can confirm that as soon as you connect to the contract, and then you make your first deposit. And from that moment, you're earning whatever your My Daily Boost is per day. And then once a week, it unlocks. This screen right here unlocks, and you have the option of taking those 7 days of earning, and you can either claim them, which we call cash out, or you can let it ride, which is our equivalent of compounding. You can also at that time, yeah, sorry, did you have something?
One question in between. You said before, if I'm not mistaken, you said that you can take out your initial investment 3 times at a max, and then it's gone for that initial investment. Is this correct?
No. Is it possible you're thinking of another project, or I don't know what I might have said. Once you deposit. Sorry, go ahead.
I thought there is a maximum of BNB.
Yes. Sorry. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's the max per wallet. So as you build, so let's say you put in 1 BNB into the wallet. That would mean that you could earn up to 3 BNB without doing anything else. But that doesn't kill your wallet because if you then compounded that 1 BNB the first week and you had now 1.1 BNB or something, that means that now your max is 3.3 BNB because
this is exactly what I wanted to ask. If I accumulate more or if I compound, will it also rise what I in the end can cash out? I think it only makes sense that way. I just wanted to clarify it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 3x on all deposits or compounds because those are considered a deposit. Up to when you get to 20 BNB, that's the max you can put into a wallet. So we have several max wallets that just came in with 20 BNB. That's just where they started. And that's the max. That's all they can do. And so they're going to be claiming every week. There's no point in compounding because you can't go higher than that. But you can also build to 20 BNB. And if you do get to 20 BNB, then 60 BNB is the max you can take out. And then that wallet is dead.
I see. Yeah, a good system. I also kind of like that you limit them to this 20 BNB because if they start a new wallet, they have to buy a new membership, they have to buy a new cocktail, and like this, or the cocktail is basically profit for the project. It helps us to sustain it longer. Yeah, it's smart.
That's right. You got it. We're not hiding anything, but but that's how we make money. So if you need to take out the cost of the NFTs into calculating your ROI, that makes sense, but you're still within that 3x, you're going to get that. And you still own the NFT at the end of it. So you could put it in another wallet or you can try to sell it on the secondary market. We also buy as a protocol. We sweep the floor, which is a term that means sometimes we come in and buy these NFTs ourselves and burn them. So they become more and more rare over time, which helps keep the price sustainable for people who are trying to sell them. So we're even trying to help you when you're getting out of the protocol.
Perfect. That sounds interesting. Kirk, let me check the chat once again. I think I had one question linking me in the chat, but it wasn't too much of a good question. Let me search for it. Give me a moment. Let me read through it and then we decide. Okay, like one question out of that is a good one. I'm going to ask that. How many NFTs were the initial supply for your cocktails?
Yeah, both rounds, meaning the silver round and the gold round of cocktails, both had a maximum mint of 2,000. Neither of them came in anywhere close to that. I think we minted about 400 in the silver round and another just 100 or so in the gold round. So but the remaining, they don't exist. They were burned after the live mint. So the cocktail NFTs currently that exist are 100% only available on the secondary market. And there's only as many as there are. So, and they become less all the time when the Treasury buys them and burns them off the secondary as well. So there aren't very many of them, actually.
Nice. Because you also kind of somehow answered another question that is within that chapter here. Because a lot of NFT projects, this is something that happened to myself. They didn't do a lot after they initially minted.
Yeah, yes. And I agree with that and have experienced that myself. And that's the thing that's kind of unique as well about these, because again, the utility of them, I don't think I've ever bought an NFT personally that that return token as well as I thought it would when I bought it. But these don't do that. These are giving you a specific return on the investment, which again is a boost percentage and a speed of return of the investment that you make in the protocol. They're not giving you actual token value at all. So you're getting exactly what you paid for, and they don't vary. Like, you don't all of a sudden are getting less token. It's still the same percent no matter what. And so the utility, I think, is a little bit stronger in my opinion, because of that. And then they also, again, have more secondary value as long as the protocol exists and we keep going the way we're going, which is that these NFTs are somewhat rare. You can probably sell them. Maybe you won't make 100% back. Who knows? But you can make something back. And if you've already ROI'd or more, you're still ahead. So they do have some value to them as long as the protocol is alive.
Kirk, one more question is, because let's play the mind game. Let's think about like 4 to 6 months later, and you have, let's say, 2,000 people that want to get their hands on NFTs. But you don't even have enough supply on NFTs. Would there be another mint?
Yes. We intend to do more cocktail series, but only as we think they are necessary. I mean, we want to support people, in the secondary market and stuff like that, but that obviously isn't our primary motivator, is to set up a system that people can make money when they're leaving the protocol. But at the same time, we want to make it fair. And so we're trying to hit a balance between the two things. But yes, we will absolutely do another round of cocktails, but it's not anytime soon. What does that mean? I don't know, but at least not for at least another month or two, at least.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer as well. Kirk, I think I don't have any questions left. I also did not find a question in the chat that is worth to ask it now here. I would incentivize everybody that was guest of this AMA, and I know it was a very long one today, but to be honest, like, it was a very enjoyable one. I would incentivize you, go to the social media pages of Speakeasy, join their Telegram group, be part of their community, and just get a feeling from the vibe there. Because what Kirk told me today evening, it made me at least keep my eyes on the project, and I'm super satisfied with the answers that you gave us, with the presentation you did. I think you did a phenomenal job. And so for me, there is one thing left to say, and this is me being honest. We have a lot of projects in this room. We have, I think, 4 AMAs this week. We have a lot of pinned posts coming through. But you were honest with us, so I'm going to be honest with you. The projects that perform the best with the Bravelounge and that get the most backing from the people in here are the ones that keep us updated. Since you did an AMA today with us, Kirk, I want to welcome you in the Bravelounge family, and I'm very happy to have you with us. And I want to invite you to check in from time to time and share some sneak pieces with the community. Just keep us updated. Send your community. People can also come to our place and tell us about the product. I know that time is a very valuable good in this space, and it's all we have, basically. But maybe if you find 5 to 10 minutes now and then, jump in, share your newest stories, share your newest updates. And if you could do that without just forwarding a post, but with being part of the community and sharing on the same height as the investors in here, I think we could really, really grow a long time together, and you're happily invited back on stage. If you have some major updates, let me know, and we can do a short update AMA, or maybe we do another full 2 hours. But I have to say, very impressed with the way you run your ship. I think it's a well thought idea. If it works out, we both don't know it. But it was a pleasure to have you as my guest today.
Hey, Phil, thank you so much. That means a lot, what you said, and to me. And I will absolutely poke my head in and take you up on the invitation. I put up on the screen our Linktree address. I'll paste it into the chat too, which has all of our links to the site, Telegram, to our white papers. We actually have a German white paper, which one of our bartenders, that's what we call our moderators, bartenders, who is German, did a translation for us. So we have a German white paper, so that's great. And yes, I would invite anybody that's interested in the project to come on over and check it out and check out the community and all those things. And I'm just, very appreciative. It was actually very enjoyable for me to talk to you as well and to hear your thoughts on the DeFi space, which seem fairly similar to mine. So that's always fun to hear. And again, just thanks to everybody for, taking the time out of your day to listen to this. And I hope to see you over on the Speakeasy Telegram and hopefully as an investor in the protocol.
Thank you so much, Kirk. And just as a last note from our side, we have something in common. And this is that we take time to put into the stuff that we like to do. And this community grew over a year now. It's basically a very old project in the space. And we saw ups, we saw downs, but there was one very consistent element. And this was the community owner, William, who put a lot of effort into this community to make it, I think, the biggest German Telegram community in the crypto space. And that's also how we will continue to grow, continue to build. And with strong projects and great partners on our side, I think we are all early in this Web3, and we can all make it in this space. And today was a great evening with a great guest and a great audience. That's everything I have to share. And yeah, I'm going to stop the recording now. I wish you all the best, Kirk, for the future. I will be part of your journey as you will be part of mine. And I can't wait to see Speakeasy getting to where your projects that you're familiar with are already, and you conquer the DeFi space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay.